Alright, ladies and gents, it is day 2 of the C10. I found the Haynes manual from my 82 C10 that I kept. I kept the manual. So, I have written instructions on how to adjust the valves. And they're doing it differently than I learned, so I'm going to have to relearn. So, but I can't record and look at my phone at the same time, unfortunately, so we gotta figure this out. And it's only like 438 degrees out here, so I have a fan going. I apologize for the extra noise. Picking up stuff from yesterday. Spent a bunch of time last night looking up. Spent a bunch of time last night looking up LS swap stuff. Because if I can't get this motor to run right, or I determine that it's not healthy, I ain't gonna mess with it. Isn't worth it. We are wanting piston 1 TDC on the compression stroke. Exhaust valve open. Exhaust valve closed. Intake valve barely open on one. Valve is closed on one. So now we're on our way back up on cylinder 1. So I'm going to pull the spark plug out. So that I can feel when the compression changes and whatever. This thing needs bushings everywhere. All the body bushings are shot, shocks are shot, upper lower control arm bushings are shot, which I was already looking into doing all of that stuff new anyway. Wow. I mean, I know I'm not a 100% expert, but she's running a tad bit rich here. I think that's more than a tad bit. Anyway, we're gonna adjust the carburetor after I get the valves adjusted. Mostly because part stores are wonderful and don't carry rebuild kits for quadrojets. Also, I have to get the casting numbers off of this to figure out what I even have. No, it's a quadrojet. Oh, those are my mixture screws. I thought those were. Okay. I know that this is a quadrojet with what am I trying to say? The thermal coil choke. That's what I'm trying to say. It doesn't have an electric choke. It's a thermal. What is that called? A heat riser? I cannot remember what it's called. I know what it is, but I can't remember. It's a non-electric choke quadrojet. That is what I can tell you. with certainty. Dang it. All right. So now that I've got that figured out, figure out. Power stroke number one, okay. Alright. That's TDC on the compression stroke. Okay. I can adjust number one valves. Just gonna back these off and totally restart. Because I realized from watching the video footage from yesterday that as soon as I touched number one exhaust valve, the engine started running terrible. Don't know if it was a coincidence or not, but I'm just gonna completely restart. Okay, so that is way too much play, and that is way too much play. Slight drag. Alright, tighten each nut an additional one full turn to center the lifters. 90, 180, another one, and another one. Yeah. One, two, three, four. Okay, so supposedly those are now set. Not 100% sure on how that makes sense, but so it's definitely not the way that I figured out how to do it. But whatever, I'll go with it. Alright, I need to pop the other valve cover off. Let's do 8, because this method you go in the order of fire, you go in the firing order, which is 1, 8, 4, 3, 6, 5, 7, 2. I guess I have that memorized. Actually, fun fact about that firing order. Small block Chevys and small block Fords actually have the same firing order if you change the cylinder numbering. Chevy labels their cylinders 1, 3, 5, 7, on the driver's side and 2, 4, 6, 8 on the passenger side. Ford goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the firing order on my truck is, or would it be 8? No, it would be 1. What? No, that's not right. Anyway, I don't remember what the firing order is on my truck because Ford numbers the cylinders differently. Oh, I think I remember now. I think passenger side is 1 on a Ford. Isn't that sad that I don't even remember that? Anyway, point proven, I don't have to do much work on my truck. I don't work on it that much. I worked on my old truck a lot more. This one I'm going to be working on a lot more as well. And LS engines have a different firing order. I don't remember what that is because I don't deal with LS stuff much. Although, that might be happening in the future. We shall see. We shall see what happens with this motor. Like I said, if I can't get it to run right and I decide to do it, it's probably going to get an LS. I'm thinking I think what I'm probably going to do is carb swap the LS. That way I don't have to try to do with the computers and the wiring. You know, aluminum. Dang it. Okay, here we go. Anyway, aluminum intake. Carburetor, not a quadrijet, I'm just going to order a new carburetor. Aluminum intake, new carburetor. I found the cam that I want to use if I decide to put a cam in the LS. That'll bump me to right around 400 horsepower, a little more, a little less. Which will be pretty cool. 400 horsepower LS in this truck would definitely be cool. I'd probably go with a 4L60 or a 4L80, probably a 4L80 unless I find a good deal on a 4L60. Just because I'm putting 400 horsepower and 400 foot-pounds of torque through a 4L60. They weren't designed to handle the amount of power that came out from the factory in front of them, apparently, because they had like 160,000 miles. This carburetor leaks fuel really, really bad. Like really, really bad. It is going to need some help. And I am just dropping stuff everywhere. Here. Alright. These are in the way. A lot. Poorly placed vacuum thing yesterday. On that way, I guess.
Hey, how you doing?
Oh, hey, what's up?
Is the engine done?
Huh?
Do you know if you can get the engine going?
Oh, it runs.
Oh, does it run?
Yeah, it ran. Yes, I had it running yesterday.
Oh, good.
It's just kind of noisy, so I'm adjusting the valves. Hopefully that
Check it.
Yeah.
Okay. Simple.
Yeah. If I can't get this engine running right, I'm just gonna put a different engine in it. Probably.
Amazing how.
Isn't it amazing how much room's in there?
What?
So it's amazing how much room in there.
Oh yeah, compared to now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Heck, compared to my truck. Even
Yeah.
my green truck, there's so much less room in there. sludge inside this motor. Holy cow. Like, there's a lot. Wow. Alright. Whew. Alright, so now we need to go TDC on 8. It's going to require me to pull all of the spark plugs out. Actually, I just realized that. To find TDC. Oh well, that'll give me a chance to look at them all and see what we got going on. Ow, that hurt. That one's covered in gas. Well, because the freaking carburetor's leaking so bad. Anyway. Alright, time for the signature move here. Ooh, that's rusty. That's rusty and flexible. Apparently. So that was fun. Anyway. Could have been painful. That ain't right. Pushrod should spin. Oh! That's an interesting development. Okay then. I got a broken pushrod. Alright. Now is when I decide how much money I want to stick into this particular motor. Let's put the spark plug back in. That'll fix the problem. Which also means I'm probably going to hold off on the carburetor rebuild for a minute. So if I'm putting an LS in and I'm not using a quadrojet, I'll get a Holly or something that works. Man, I can't even get this dang spark plug back in. I'll show you the broken pushrod in a minute. And the corresponding rocker arm. here's what we are working with right here. That is my push rod for number 4 intake. And it is broken off. It is, the other end is supposed to look like this. You know, round with a small hole, rounded off nice and smooth. This is what the end looks like now. The other end is in the rocker arm. It is stuck in there. I've tried to push this in and twist it and kind of move it around, and it doesn't move. So one rocker arm needs replaced, and this push rod needs replaced at a bare minimum. And looking at these, you may not be able to see it on the video. I bet you probably can't see it on video. But there is, oh, there you can kind of see it. Right here where the valve rides on the rocker arm, there's a pretty serious ledge there. And so yeah, the rocker arms probably will need going through. Basically, I don't think I'm going to call it yet. I don't think I'm going to call it yet. I think I'm going to get a compression tester and check compression on it. But I think it's safe to say this engine is not... Boy, I hate to do that. I think it's safe to say this motor is not going to be the ticket for this whole girl. I think it is safe to say this motor might have lived its last yeehaw. Okay, so it's only going to run on 7 cylinders right now because I pulled the broken push rod and rocker arm out. I'm going to fire it up just to see if the valve adjustment made any difference at all. I know that it's only running on 7 cylinders, but that was like 4. Maybe 4 3/4. That was bad. Again, I won't write the motor off yet, but let's go see if I can get a compression tester. Alrighty, I got a compression tester from my uncle, so we'll run that in a minute, but right now I'm gonna go help him fix the trailer. Well, not fix the trailer. We're putting an electric jack on the trailer, so I'm gonna go over and help him put that on. So that's the other end of the push rod that came out of the rocker arm. It's the end of the push rod that's broken off. And I didn't notice this because I dropped it on the floor and those 2 pieces fell out because I couldn't get them out. They were stuck in there. And my uncle picked it up and was looking at it. And it's kind of hard to see, but in there you can see how scratched up and galled up it is. And there's actually a pin in the middle of this rocker arm. They're not supposed to be like that. There's supposed to be a smooth ball inside that rocker arm. So what that means is probably a lack of oil to, at a minimum, of that push rod. So the motor might have been ran low on oil, which, if that's the case, that would be the final piece of the puzzle to all the other weird valve train problems I'm experiencing, with push rods not spinning, valves not opening all the way. The engine, at this point, I'm betting it probably ate the cam due to lack of oiling, probably. So I'm gonna pull the intake off, because I got to thinking about it. I'm like, the intake's really not that hard to pull off on that. I'm gonna pull the intake off, and then we'll see what the cam looks like, because then I can pull the lifters out and see what the lifters look like, and also see what the cam lobe looks like. And that will be the determination on what happens with that motor, and at least the way that the motor is set up right now. So when I get to doing that, I'll see you all then. That is what the push rod looks like. It came out at number 4. Intake, I believe. So what is it? Yeah, it's number 4 intake. That's what the rocker arm looks like. I'm holding them with a paper towel because they're hot, because they were sitting on my tailgate in the sun. As you can see, it's even discolored some from heat. So, don't know what's going on, but it's not looking incredibly good. So, I'm gonna I think right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the intake off. Move you guys over here some. I'm going to pull the intake off so I can get a look at the cam and the lifters and figure out what's going on, because I have a theory. I'm having a thought that maybe number 1 intake valve, that lifter, or that cam lobe, I'm sorry, is ground down. I'm wondering. So, and that will determine a lot on what my next steps are. Explain why the engine doesn't run right, everything like that. Alright, so I finally got everything torn off of the intake, so I can actually get to it, get it off. So, I already tried pulling on it. It don't want to pull off, so we're gonna have to get creative here. There we go. Now we got some movement. Alternator bracket off the rest of the way. Go. Alright, I'm gonna go get a magnet so I can pull the couple of the lifters out to see what we're working with here. And these here, which will work. Cam is okay or not. Help if I could get this lifter out. Help a lot. Alright, well that one looks alright. That one visually looks okay. I'm gonna look at my book. Foot of each lifter must be slightly convex. Side of another lifter can be used as a straight edge to check it. If it appears flat, it's worn and must not be reused. So I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to pull the lifter for number 1 intake, because that one, I know there was something wrong with it. I don't know what's wrong with it. I know there was something not right about number 1 intake, so it's pulled out here. Oh my God, there's a lot of sludge in here. Holy cow. Look at this. Quartz for the exhaust crossover, almost exhausted shut, for lack of better terms. It's amazing. Alright. Twist that sideways. Now this push rod's alright. It looks worn different versus the other end. Pull this next lifter out, see what we got. Struggling to get this lifter out. you guys over so I can get into a better spot. Alright, so you can see what this lifter here looks like. This is number 4 intake. Okay, here's number 1 intake. And as you can see, just by the way I'm holding it, it's not right. And the book says you can use the edge of another lifter as a straight edge. Well, I'm struggling to get it lined up right. But there. Here. I'm gonna lower you guys on the tripod. Alright, so this is number 1 intake, which is the one that was not spinning correctly, actually. No, I'm sorry. This one was not spinning correctly, and this one, it was not opening far enough. This is number 4 intake. I have not checked this one. You can see it's kind of weird. There's the lines in the middle of it. Number 1 intake is the one that I am checking right now. It is quite obviously not worn properly. According to my Haynes manual, reading, oh, right there, the foot of any of the lifter is worn concave, scratched, or galled. Both the entire lifter set and the camshaft will have to be replaced with new parts. It did exactly what I was suspecting it did. This motor ate the cam for breakfast. Or, well, I guess it ate the lifters for breakfast and had the cam for dinner. Oh boy, yeah. Yeah, so I don't think you guys are going to be able to see it, but the cam, you can tell, is very much so ate up. It's really hard to see with the cam in the block, but you can tell. So it's not right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the shop vac, and you see all the coolant in there. I'm going to suck the coolant out, at least that I can get to. I'm going to put the push rods and everything back in where they came out of, so I know. Actually, I'm going to get some pictures first. Alright, so update on C10. So we had an issue last night where number 1 intake valve was not opening nearly as far as it should, but the valves were really clattery, so I was just thinking, okay, maybe the valve's out of adjustment. And in the back of my mind, man, I hope the cam didn't go flat. Well, upon doing the valve tightening today, I find that the number 4 intake push rod feels like it's hitting something. And so for those of you that don't know, my phone will focus here. There. That is what the end of a push rod is supposed to look like. This is what the end of number 4 intake looks like. That's no good. There's the other 2 pieces of it. This is the rocker arm for number 4 intake. As you can see in the center of the rocker arm dimple, there's like a stud or a pin coming out. That is not supposed to be like that. And you can see how it's all rough and scratched up. That's definitely not supposed to be like that, from lack of oiling. And then we have the lifters. I pulled the intake so I could get the lifters out and look at the lifters and take a small peek at the cam. The one that's down is the number 4 intake. The one that's on the top is the number 1 intake. The valve that was not moving as much as it should. And anybody that knows anything about cars knows exactly what just happened. And they can see what's wrong. This is the number 1 intake. Lifters, flat tappet lifters are supposed to be concave. This one is convex. This one is worn out, but it's, you know, closer to normal wear and tear. This is still not great. But this one is definitely bad. And as good as I could look in here, flashlight, here we go. As good as I could get a looky in here, down at the camshaft, I'll see if I can show you guys what I can see in here. You really can't see like this very well. But anyway, long story short, it ate the cam, so at the very minimum, this camshaft is done. Probably the entire motor. I'm gonna run a compression test and see if the rest of the motor is worth using, and if it is, I'll pull the motor and do cam, lifters, valves, etc. Everything besides the lower rotating assembly. And if the compression test does not check out, the engine's going to either A, get a complete rebuild, or I'm going to junk it and throw an LS 5.3 Vortec out of the truck in here with a cam as well, and probably carb swap the LS so I don't have to deal with the computers and stuff. I don't know. I'm gonna compare prices and find parts. Ladies and gentlemen, I am officially pulling the plug on this motor. I'm not going to even put it back together to running condition to drive it into the garage or anything, because when I started it up before I pulled it apart or pulled the intake and everything off, it wouldn't run on more than like 4 cylinders anyway. So I'm not even gonna mess with it because I'd have to, you know, time it and all of that stuff. I'm not even gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna set the intake back on the hole, put the bolts in a Ziploc bag, set the carburetor back on the hole, put the bolts in a Ziploc bag. You know, just get it to keep bugs and leaves out of it. And then tonight I'm going to go down the Summit Racing wormhole and make a detailed parts list of everything that I can possibly think of for an LS swap, and get it all collected and in the cart, and then do a dedicated detailed parts list of rebuilding the small block that's in it and making that work and run, and kind of see what the price cost benefit is. You know, how much power am I getting per dollar basically is what my thing's going to be, because I found several articles online with detailed parts lists of the power levels you can get with an LS, and a couple of articles online, the power levels you can get with a 350 with X parts and whatever. So that's my plan. Unfortunately, right now it's really hard to find parts. A lot of them are out of stock because of COVID, and the ones that are in stock are expensive, especially it seems for small block Chevys, and I don't know why. Small block Chevy parts are right up there with small block Ford parts in price. And small block Ford parts have always been basically double what small block Chevy parts are. So, that's the update on what we're doing. That's probably gonna do it for this video because my phone's about dead. I'm about dead. I got a couple hours worth of cleanup to do still because I got to get the bed of my truck cleaned out and all my tools put away. I got to get the bed of my truck cleaned out so I can get 4 tires off the C10 and into the back of my truck, and I got to get the old tires off of my F-150 into my truck so that I can swap the tires over so that the truck at least rolls easily. And I'm also gonna try to figure out how to resurface and clean the rust off of brake rotors and the drums easily. Like the rotors, I'll probably take an angle grinder with a flat disc and just spin them and cut the rust off of them. That way the truck pushes easily, because right now the brakes are full of rust and dragging real bad, and there's spider webs everywhere over here. Oh my goodness. Sorry. So it's really hard to push it. So I'm gonna try to make it easier to push it. Is the plan. I'm gonna go downstairs and take about a 4-week nap, and we'll resume. So, thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. This is something totally different, and it's very exciting for me and the channel. We will see where this brings us. I'm assuming it'll bring us as a channel to totally new lengths. Man, I'm tired. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day, and have fun.